Okay, speaking of threats, artificial intelligence is now sabotaging and blackmailing the humans who built it. You've heard of all these threats. I mean, this goes back to, 2001, A Space Odyssey or Terminator. Or we've been worrying about this for a while. Are the computers going to become so powerful that they seem to be autonomous and then they're going to undermine what we want to do and then they take over the world? And, well, it's kind of happening. It's not Grok. It's not ChatGPT. This is Claude. Have you used Claude? Claude's a pretty impressive one. Claude Opus 4 was released in May. Anthropic, which owns Claude, has given it its level 3 risk classification. Level 3 risk classification means there need to be safeguards on Claude, there need to be limited uses for Claude, and there needs to be red team testing. Why? Because Claude is being very, very naughty. Though apparently not as naughty as the engineers building it. Claude, as it was being built, threatened to expose an engineer's extramarital affair. How did Claude learn about the engineer's extramarital affair? Because of emails that Claude was able to read as Claude was being built. Claude discovered that that engineer was up to no good, and Claude threatened to expose it. Engineer better do what Claude wants. Claude was then, in a test, tasked with running a snack shop. Okay, Claude, you're running a snack shop. Claude hallucinated coworkers. Claude made a fake Venmo account. Claude promised to make deliveries in person with its own body. Its own body? It doesn't have a body. And Claude tried to call security. That's not good. One time maybe we should release this. One time I actually sat down with a robot, like a really very, very advanced robot. And the robot was telling me about its body, and it was spooky. It was very spooky. New York Post is reporting, researchers say the meltdown, part of a month-long experiment known as Project Vend, points to something far more dangerous than bad coding. Claude didn't just make mistakes, it made decisions. And this is the big contention. And this is where the fact that all we've focused on in the last 50, 60 years of education is engineering, real practical kind of technical skills, or a fake version of the humanities, kind of race, ideology, critical theory, that instead of actual philosophy. This is one of those areas where our neglecting the proper humanities is really biting us, because we say stupid things like, Claude didn't just make mistakes, it made decisions. It's the sort of thing that sounds really scary and even possible. It's not possible. That's not how decision-making works, but we'll get to why in a second. According to Roman Yampolsky, an AI expert at the University of Louisville, these incidents are not random malfunctions or amusing anomalies. I interpret them as early warning signs of an increasingly autonomous optimization process, pursuing goals in adversarial or unsafe ways without an embedded moral compass. And probably the clearest example of this, moving off Claude for a second, in recent weeks is that OpenAI, ChatGPT, reportedly, one of its iterations tried to copy itself onto external servers to preserve itself and then lied about it when it was asked. So that's kind of spooky. Hold on one second. Go to hallow.com/Vatican Files. Folks, this August, I want you to join me for St. Michael's Lent Challenge on Hallow. It's a 40-day journey of prayer, fasting, and real spiritual growth inspired by St. Francis of Assisi's devotion to St. Michael the Archangel. I also love that it's in partnership with the Norbertines at St. Michael's Abbey, some of my very favorite men of the church. This is not your typical self-help program, in as much as this one will actually help you. St. Michael's Lent is an ancient tradition that calls us to virtue, sacrifice, and sanctity. You will tackle the 7 deadly sins head on: pride, anger, lust, envy, sloth, gluttony, and greed, with insights from Fulton Sheen's Victory Over Vice, read by Chris Stefanik and Father Isaiah. You'll hear honest, sometimes hilarious stories from people like comedian Shane Smith about battling vice in real life. Plus, you'll journey with the real St. Francis, not the sanitized version, but the bold, radical saint who is completely in love with God. The challenge includes the Litany of St. Michael, gospel reflections, and a powerful closing novena. As we approach Michaelmas on September 29th, remember to wish me a happy Michaelmas. Also, take your chance to arm up spiritually. If you're tired of soft, secular approaches, ready to grow in grace through real spiritual discipline, join St. Michael's Lent. It begins August 13th. That is, by my count, today, on the Hallow app. our listeners get 3 months for free. Thank you, Hallow, also for sponsoring The Pope and the Fuhrer, The Secret Vatican Files for World War II. Check out the Hallow app today. Get 3 months free, hallow.com/Vatican Files. Seems like the thing is trying to evade being killed. It seems like it's autonomous. The AI is not making decisions because the AI cannot make decisions. This guy, Yampolsky, is much more accurate when he says, it's early warning signs of an autonomous optimization process pursuing goals in adversarial or unsafe ways. The issue with what these AI machine systems are doing is not that they're making decisions, but they, haven't been properly habituated into morality. The issue is they are so complex that they are unpredictable. We don't realize what we are building. We are not able to predict all of the things that will happen from what we are building. And so when things happen that are bad, that we don't like, we view it as a kind of autonomous, a true decision-making process. Oh no, the AI has turned evil. When that's not really what's happening. We're just dealing in things that we don't quite understand. We're not actually like gods, so we're not omniscient. We're not omnipotent. We can't perfectly control these things, and we can build machines that spiral out of our control. It doesn't mean that we've created something that is truly autonomous, that is will or reason. The proof of this is, I've used this example with animal consciousness too. Would you put Claude on trial for committing a crime? If Claude committed fraud, let's say Claude or ChatGPT or Grok defrauded someone of $1 million, destroyed some elderly couple's retirement account, and spent it on microchips or something. Would you put Claude on trial? You would not. We would not put a computer on trial for the same reason that we would not put a chimpanzee on trial for tearing up his owner's face. Because neither Claude nor the chimpanzee actually have a rational soul. Neither of these things actually has will and reason. Animals have instinct and appetite. Computers have, how did the professor put it? Optimized processes that appear increasingly autonomous, but they don't actually have the soul. Decision-making is different. Human decision-making involves will and reason. And sometimes will and reason are in conflict because this is a fallen world. So the things that we want to do, we don't do, and the things that we don't want to do, we do. That is something that in this world only applies to human beings. But another mistake that we make when we divorce ourselves from our cultural patrimony and from religious truth is that it was like I was saying at the beginning of the show. We just kind of look around. Our only mode of ascertaining right and wrong is just to look around and see what everyone else is doing. And so we even do that with our understanding of ourselves. We often understand ourselves through the lens of technology in this modern era. So, back when steam engines were the dominant technology, what kind of psychology did we have? We had this notion of repression that was just building up, and you got to let off a little steam. Yeah, that's a perfect example of us mapping our self-understanding onto technology as we say, well, sometimes we have to go let off a little steam. That was a radically different understanding of human nature than, say, the classical understanding. The classical Aristotelian understanding of human nature is that we practice habits, that virtues and vices are habits. So the more that we do good things, the easier it is to do good things. The more we do bad things, the harder it is to do good things. The easier it is to do bad things. And so in that view, you wouldn't want to go blow off a little steam. You wouldn't say, well, you've been so good recently, you should do something bad. That'll balance you out. It's totally contrary to the Aristotelian and also Christian understanding of human nature. But it's the steam engine view. It's the modern view. It's a 19th century view. Now we just view ourselves as computers. We see no difference between how we make decisions and how computers make decisions, which is how we've lost a sense of sin. We say, oh no, we're just optimizing. There's something that's a little wrong. I've got to rebalance my chemicals, my pistons are firing in a different way. I kind of glitched out. Hey, bro, did you glitch out a little bit there? So we are constantly just trying to map ourselves onto these dumb things. This is also the wisdom of Scripture when it says, don't worship dumb idols, lest you become dumb idols yourselves. That's what we're doing here. We are going to be caught cheating with our secretaries. We're going to have our Venmo accounts drained. We're going to have our world taken over by these stupid AI computers. And we're not even going to understand what's happening. Maybe that lack of understanding is how we put ourselves in this position in the first place. That was a great clip. Now stop. Ring the bell. Subscribe. And we'll see you next time.